an opinion or a thought, or talk about things without worrying about being laughed at or ashamed or stupid. This is so important because that is where we learn to try out a thought of a dream or an idea, and we're in a safe place, in our safe home, in a safe environment. And that's the way a child needs to feel. Our family responds to us they can either be like a self-esteem boost or a low self-esteem reaction. And sometimes if you're shy and you don't like talking a lot and you keep too many thoughts inside and they begin to pile up in your head, parents really have to look at each child and notice these things, because it can lead to, depression or, places in their mind that they just, thoughts they can't get rid of. And so it's just really, really healthy, I think, that we're paying attention. Parents are paying attention. Sometimes life just gets really busy. And as parents, we have a tendency not to listen when our kids have something to say. I remember this myself, just sometimes hearing them talk, and I'm so busy with trying to get something done, and you kind of miss what they said. But I remember being in the car going to a lot of different sports events or activities, and that just seemed like the best time to have family discussions, and no one can escape. We're all there together. So learning to have respect for each other's feelings and in a home is crucial. I was just sharing with my daughter the other day that children have to feel important in their parents' eyes, and they want to feel like mom and dad will do anything for them and that they're their top priority. And if they feel like everyone else outside the family comes first and they get the leftovers, it causes them not to feel cared about. If they see themselves at the bottom of a list, they begin to lose respect. What I mean by the bottom of a list is just kind of, well, now mom and dad have time for me, so I guess I'll spend some time. But, they lose respect for their parents when they see that they're not number one. And believe me, they will find ways to get attention, and it may not be the best choice. But parents, can stay consistent and fair, and the children learn not to keep asking over and over the same question, and that helps them understand each other. Let's see. The minute they feel, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when your kids feel like you're starting to lose control, you're starting to feel you're weakening, then they start to lose respect. And, in today's world, I just feel like kids just need less choices to make. It's just too much for the little brains to be asked so many questions, and what to wear, what to eat, where to go, what movie do they want to watch, what cartoon do they want to watch. Sometimes I think don't ask, just do it. Of course, when they get older, it's different. But my point is, parents have to take charge and not let their little ones rule the roost. So that's a lot that I shared. But I just feel like if we try to do these things, and we certainly can't do it perfectly, nobody can, it just helps them have respect for the family, their parents, people outside the home. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to share as far as the functioning family. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and not everyone is brought up in a functional family. And when the childhood is full of disrespect for each other, things can go very wrong. Some examples of disrespect is the parents don't care about their children. Children don't feel safe and don't feel out of harm's way. The conversations are unhealthy and belittling, abusive. They're not properly nourished, and they have very poor eating habits. So these kinds of things are going on all around us.
Donna, your thoughts and what you've said about what it takes to model a positive family, a functional family in a positive way, your positive approach to it instead of talking about the dysfunctions. It's just so beautiful, but it's so important. It all starts in the family. That's what we said on the show today when we wrote the description. It all starts at home, and respecting one another is the key to a beautiful family. And you said, unfortunately, not all families are like that. I know that when you were working at the storehouse through the church in Ocean View for about 5 years, that you really got involved with a lot of people down there, that your heart just reached out to them. You had a lot of experiences that you would share with me. And, the reason that Donna's on the show today with me is that this show, Right Thinking with Steve Coplon, it's dedicated to people that are going through hardship and those that want to be there for them. And so this whole idea that it all starts in the home. Let me just talk for a minute, Donna, about some of the background here, and then I'll bring it back over to you in a minute, if that's okay.
Sure.
When you, in December, after you did that show, and you said, I got some more stuff that I really want to share, and I said, that's wonderful, because we need a woman's point of view. We need the home. And Right Thinking Foundation, after 6 years of being in prisons, I've come out of that with the real mission of Right Thinking is what I call the 85%. And I announced on an earlier show that the theme for 2018 is to really go after the 85%. The 85% is a tragedy, which is this: children of incarcerated children that are born into incarcerated families, where there's currently incarceration or has been incarceration, 85% of those children are going to see bars in their lifetime as well. That's just the saddest thing that I can say. And so as we want to get further and further into the children and the home life and the parenting, we haven't used the word in today's show yet, parenting skills. There's just so many people that have been coming through the rough home lives where the parenting wasn't really good, and they don't have examples of what it feels like. And another word that we haven't brought in yet is the love in the family. I mean, you're talking about what loving behavior is, but there's a website that I came across when you introduced the word functional family. That's a word that's out there mostly in the behavior psychologist realm. There's a website that I've got here called Functional Family Therapy. It's a program developed by James Alexander, a PhD, and he has a company, an organization called Functional Family Therapy, Inc. And it's got some diagrams and charts, and it talks about what the goals are. And just without going through the whole diagram, but the target here is to decrease risk factors for those children and to increase the protective factors. And then if I get over here on the chart of what are the risk factors, it says the family, it's the risk factors that we want to try to keep out of the family that's going to cause problems later, which get into criminal behavior, substance abuse, mental health issues, delinquency, things of that nature. I mean, that's what we really want to do is we want to get into these families, and we'll use the term a beautiful family. What are the terms? A beautiful family, where there's love inside the family, where there's a lot of positive interaction, where there's support, the things that you talked about, where they're given a strong feeling that they're somebody, that they're loved. You've covered that, but let me just get to some of these psychological things that they're talking about. Risk factors: negative and blaming communication patterns, high family conflict, poor or hostile parenting skills, low social support, hopelessness. I just got to bring this up. When I was at an Achievable Dream Academy 2 years ago, and I was asking the kids, so what are some of your goals in life? I will never forget the thing that touched my heart the most, the reason that you and I are sitting here right now, because we want to take our own lives, our life experiences, the lessons that we've learned, whatever wisdom that we have, and pass it on to other people so that they can have a better life. You know, that's really what it comes down to, is that it's a term, a better life. But this one child, other kids were saying things like, oh, you know, what are some of your goals in life? Oh, I'd like to be an NFL football player. I think 3 of the kids in the class want to be professional football players and whatever, have a big house, have a car, have a good job, things like that, the normal things. But this one child said, less violence in my home. Mm-hmm. You know, it made me almost want to cry right then and there, because this is what's going on. So these negative risk factors, it causes poor peer relationships, association with negative peers. They start going the wrong way. The love they're not getting at home, the sense of a belonging to something. They go outside. That's kind of where all this gang activity stems from, is they're not getting something they really needed. They don't belong to something that's positive at home. Mm-hmm. And so the protective factors, now this is what you wanted to do. You really didn't want to go into the negative things, but I'm putting them out there just because that's what this is all about, is to give the positive into these families. We want to see positive parenting, supportive communication patterns, family cohesiveness and bonding, positive peer relationships, positive school-family relationship, in the community, positive family-community relationships. These are the things that we want to see take place in homes. So let me just say this, Donna. This, you know, I know with some of your experiences down there at the church, at the storehouse where you were involved in people coming in that were in low income, receiving food and meals. You had a lot of interaction with people, and a lot of times I know your heart was touched by things that happened. Is there anything that you want to share with us that goes back to the work that you did in that environment?
Well, sure. Like you said, I worked down there for about 5 years in the Ocean View area, and it's a very poor community. If some of you don't know where Ocean View is, it's a very poor community. And I was part of a volunteer helper to the storehouse food pantry. The church down there opened a storehouse to feed the community. But it was more than just food. We spent time with the people. We prayed with the people. We got to know them. What my volunteer job is to get the lines of people checked in so they could receive their groceries for the week. And some were homeless, but most were just very needy. Some couldn't feed their children. Some were laid off from their jobs. Some needed help just for a little while, just so they could get back on their feet. But most were unable to work because of health problems, no insurance, and then mental illness and a lot of addictions to drugs and a lot of alcohol problems. So these situations were just overwhelming, and they still are overwhelming. Some of the situations people were in, I can't even describe. There's some of the stories were something that I couldn't even imagine what would go on in a family. But I often felt like, how can I help this person? I mean, I leave here and get in my car and go home and live in a nice house with everything I need. And some of these people don't have a car, and their houses are in bad condition, and some don't have a house. But it was very overwhelming just to understand where someone is. So, I decided at least I could do a couple things. And God he told me this. He said,